The azure glow of Saturn's rings cast a ghostly light through the observation dome, painting shadows across Dr. Ayumi Lowe's face as she adjusted the frequency modulator. 3 months had passed since the silent wave disaster rendered Earth mute, yet she still found herself reflexively checking the main receiver every morning. Habit, she supposed. Or perhaps something deeper, a refusal to accept the finality of what humanity now called the soundless day. "System check complete," the station's AI announced in its clinical tone. "No anomalous signals detected." Ayumi nodded absently, her eyes tracing the familiar curve of Earth in the distance, a pale blue dot now shrouded in an eerie stillness. From her vantage point on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, the planet that birthed humanity, looked deceptively normal. Only the complete absence of electromagnetic chatter revealed the truth. Something catastrophic had silenced all biological and technological movement on a global scale. The Karen Observatory, named after the mythological ferryman who transported souls across the River Styx, had become humanity's final outpost for Earth observation. While colonies existed on Mars and Europa, only Karen maintained instruments sensitive enough to detect even the faintest whisper from their ancestral home. "You're checking again," came a voice from behind her. Riko Tanaka, the station's mechanical engineer, stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Her expression was a mixture of concern and resignation. "The Council would call it a waste of resources." "The Council isn't here," Ayumi replied, not bothering to look up from her console. The Interplanetary Council, humanity's governing body, since the expansion beyond Earth, had officially declared their homeworld deceased 6 weeks after the silent wave. All monitoring efforts had been ordered to cease, resources redirected toward the surviving colonies. Only through a complicated series of bureaucratic maneuvers had Ayumi managed to keep Karen operational. "Someone has to watch," she added quietly. "Someone has to listen." Riko moved closer, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous observation deck. At 57 years old, she was the eldest crew member, with streaks of silver running through her black hair, a refusal to undergo the rejuvenation treatments that had become standard among space-dwelling humans. "Your father?" she asked gently. Ayumi's hands stilled momentarily over the controls. Her father, Dr. Min Le, had been coordinating quantum communication experiments in Vietnam when the silent wave hit. Like everyone else on Earth, he had simply stopped. No distress signals, no evacuation attempts, just silence. "Partly," Ayumi admitted, "but it's more than that. Humanity evolved for hundreds of thousands of years on that planet. Our history, our culture, everything that makes us human began there. I can't believe it's just over." The facility hummed around them, the soft whir of life support systems, and the distant clank of maintenance drones creating a symphony of mechanical life. Karen housed 12 permanent staff members, though only 3 remained after the Council's declaration: Ayumi, Riko, and Security Major Marcus Vu. "Speaking of our illustrious security officer," Riko said, checking her wristpad, "he's requesting your presence in the communications hub. Something about a system anomaly." Ayumi's heart quickened. "What kind of anomaly?" "Didn't say, just that it's urgent." The communications hub occupied the central core of Karen, a spherical chamber lined with processing units and holographic displays. Unlike the observation deck with its panoramic views, the hub was deliberately isolated from external stimuli, allowing for maximum signal clarity. Major Marcus Vu stood before the main terminal, his tall frame rigid with military posture. At 35, he carried himself with the disciplined bearing of someone who had served in the Interplanetary Defense Force for over a decade. His appointment to Karen had been the Council's way of ensuring compliance with their directives, a watchdog assigned to scientists deemed too sentimental about Earth. "Dr. Le," he acknowledged as Ayumi entered. His dark eyes revealed nothing, but the tension in his jaw suggested something significant had occurred. "I've detected an anomaly in the background radiation monitoring system." "What kind of anomaly?" Ayumi approached the terminal, scanning the data streams with practiced efficiency. "A pattern." Marcus stepped aside, allowing her full access to the console. "It's faint, but it's there. A repeating sequence among the cosmic noise." Ayumi's fingers flew across the interface, isolating frequency bands and enhancing signal resolution. The pattern was barely perceptible, a whisper among screams, but unmistakably regular. Too regular to be natural. "Source?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Marcus hesitated. "Initial triangulation suggests Earth." The word hung between them, charged with possibility. Ayumi felt her chest tighten, hope warring with scientific skepticism. In the 3 months since the silent wave, not a single coherent signal had emerged from their homeworld. "Could be instrumentation error," Rico suggested, though her tone lacked conviction. "The cooling systems have been struggling with the methane storms. Might be causing false readings." "I've already run 3 diagnostic sequences," Marcus replied. "The pattern persists." Ayumi focused on the data, blocking out everything else. The sequence repeated approximately every 108 seconds, a series of pulses that defied random distribution. "We need to boost receptor sensitivity," she decided. "Redivert power from non-essential systems and focus all receivers on these coordinates." Marcus frowned. "That would violate Council Directive 47B. We're already operating on minimal approved power for basic monitoring." "Then we don't report it," Ayumi replied, meeting his gaze directly. "Not until we know what we're dealing with." A tense silence followed. As security officer, Marcus was obligated to enforce council regulations. But something in his expression shifted. Curiosity, perhaps, or the same desperate hope that drove Ayumi. 12 hours, he finally said. "We investigate for 12 hours. If we find nothing conclusive, we return to protocol." Ayumi nodded. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. "Rico, we'll need to modify the cooling system to handle the increased load. The secondary coolant pumps are still functional." Rico considered. "I could bypass the main regulatory circuits. Give us maybe 18 hours before overheating becomes critical." "Do it," Ayumi instructed, "and keep it quiet from the automated logs." As Rico departed for the engineering deck, Marcus stepped closer to Ayumi, lowering his voice. "You know what happens if the Council discovers we've deliberately violated protocols. Permanent reassignment to Ganymede sanitation duties." Ayumi replied with a thin smile. "I am aware." "Then why risk it? What do you expect to find?" Ayumi turned to the view screen where Earth hung in the void, a silent sentinel to humanity's expansion through the solar system. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if there's even a chance that something survived, something conscious enough to send a signal, don't we have an obligation to listen?" Marcus studied her for a long moment. "Your father was on Earth when it happened." It wasn't a question, but Ayumi nodded anyway. "Coastal Research Facility near Halong Bay. He was working on quantum entanglement communication protocols." "I'm sorry," Marcus said, and for once, his official demeanor seemed to crack. "My sister was in New Berlin, aerospace engineering." The revelation surprised Ayumi. In the 6 months since Marcus had been assigned to Karen, he had never mentioned family. "Then you understand," she said. "I understand the need for closure," he corrected. "But we can't let emotion drive scientific inquiry." "It's not emotion," Ayumi insisted. "It's responsibility. We're the last observers. Major. If we don't listen, who will?" Before Marcus could respond, the station's alarm system activated, bathing the hub in pulsing red light. "Warning. Thermal regulation anomaly detected in Section 7, the AI announced. Coolant pressure exceeding safety parameters." Ayumi exchanged a glance with Marcus. Rico's modifications must have triggered the safety protocols. Override them, Marcus suggested, surprising her. But be quick about it. With rapid keystrokes, Ayumi accessed the station's central control system. Computer, authorization Lee Alpha 479. Override thermal warnings in Section 7. Continuous operation parameters. Override accepted. The AI confirmed. Warning suppressed for 24 hours. Note: this action has been logged for council review. Delete log entry, Marcus added. Authorization VU Omega 112. Log entry deletion requires Level 1 administrative approval. Marcus reached for his security badge, pressing his thumb against the embedded scanner. Emergency protocol override. Security threat classification. Potential first contact scenario. The AI paused, its algorithms weighing the validity of the classification. Override accepted. Log entry deleted. Ayumi raised an eyebrow. First contact scenario? It's the only classification that allows complete autonomy from council oversight, Marcus explained, with a hint of a smile. And technically, if something survived on Earth and is now reaching out, it would qualify. For the first time in months, Ayumi felt a genuine smile tug at her lips. I didn't take you for a rule bender, Major. I'm not bending rules, Dr. Le. I'm following the highest directive, pursuit of truth. The next 16 hours transformed Karen into a hive of feverish activity. Rico's modifications to the cooling system allowed them to redirect unprecedented power to the receiver arrays, while Ayumi recalibrated the signal processing algorithms to filter out cosmic background radiation. The pattern grew stronger, a rhythmic pulsation emanating from Earth's northern hemisphere. Still weak, still fragmented, but undeniably artificial. It's not random, Ayumi explained, as she displayed the signal pattern on the main view screen. Dark circles shadowed her eyes after hours without rest, but her voice remained clear and focused. The sequence repeats, but with subtle variations, almost like music, Rico finished, staring at the waveform visualization. It resembles a musical composition. Marcus leaned forward, studying the pattern. Could it be automated? A distress beacon or emergency system that somehow survived? Possibly, Ayumi conceded. But the variations suggest complexity beyond simple automation. There's an algorithmic structure that reminds me of the quantum communication protocols my father was developing. You think it's him? Rico asked gently. Ayumi shook her head. I don't know, but whatever's generating this signal, it's sophisticated and persistent. And getting stronger, Marcus observed, pointing to the amplitude measurements. Signal strength has increased by 17% since we began tracking. A warning light flashed on the environmental control panel. Rico moved to check it, her expression growing concerned. The coolant system is struggling. Core temperature is approaching critical levels. How much longer can we maintain this power output? Ayumi asked. 2 hours, maybe 3 before we risk permanent damage to the station systems. Marcus straightened, his decision visible in his posture. We need to contact the council. If this is truly a signal from Earth, they need to know. Not yet, Ayumi insisted. The moment we report this, control shifts to them. They'll either shut us down or take over the facility with their own people. We need to understand what we're receiving first. Dr. Le, we've stretched protocols to their breaking point, Marcus argued. This is bigger than Karen now. 48 more hours, Ayumi countered. Just give me that. I can isolate the pattern, maybe even decode it. The tension in the room thickened. Rico glanced between them, fingers hovering over her console. There might be a way to extend our window, she suggested hesitantly. Both turned to her. The station was designed with redundant systems, Rico explained. If we initiate a controlled shutdown of the residential sections and life support in unused areas, we could redirect that power to both cooling and signal processing. We'd be confined to the central hub and essential corridors, Marcus noted. But we could maintain current operations for another 60 hours before system failure becomes imminent, Rico concluded. Ayumi looked to Marcus, waiting. His internal struggle played across his features. Duty, warring with curiosity. Protocol against discovery. 48 hours, he finally agreed. Then we contact the council, regardless of what we find. Thank you, Ayumi said simply. As Rico implemented the power redistribution, the station gradually darkened around them. Whole sections went dark. Their atmosphere vented to reduce thermal load. The remaining habitable areas grew noticeably cooler as life support systems operated at minimal capacity. In the dimmed communications hub, illuminated primarily by console lights, Ayumi immersed herself in the signal analysis. The pattern continued to strengthen, revealing additional complexity with each passing hour. By the 30-hour mark, she had isolated distinct subpatterns within the main sequence, layers of information embedded within one another. It's definitely a message, she announced, voice hoarse from fatigue. And it's not just repeating, it's evolving. Rico, who had been resting on a makeshift cot in the corner, rose to join her. Evolving how? The base pattern remains consistent, but new elements are being introduced. It's as if... Ayumi hesitated, aware of how it would sound. As if it's learning to communicate more effectively. You're suggesting some form of intelligence, Marcus said from his position at the security console. Something that's actively adjusting its transmission based on detection capabilities. I'm suggesting possibility, Ayumi clarified. We don't have enough data to make definitive claims yet. A subtle tremor ran through the station, causing the consoles to flicker momentarily. Rico immediately checked the environmental readouts. Coolant pressure spike, she reported. The system is struggling to maintain temperature equilibrium. We may need to reduce power to the receivers. Not yet, Ayumi pleaded. The signal clarity is better than ever. I'm close to isolating the fundamental pattern. Another tremor, stronger this time, rattled equipment around them. Warning indicators flashed across multiple screens. Structural integrity compromised in Outer Ring C, the AI announced. Automated repair systems engaged. Marcus moved to the central console. We need to stabilize the station, Dr. Le. We have to reduce power consumption now. Just a few more minutes, Ayumi insisted, fingers flying across her interface. I've almost... The signal suddenly spiked, its amplitude doubling in seconds. Every screen in the communications hub blazed with activity, data streaming faster than the processing systems could handle. What's happening? Rico demanded, rushing to her engineering console. The signal, Ayumi breathed, eyes wide. It's not just strengthening, it's accelerating. As if it knows we're listening, Marcus finished, voice hushed. Before anyone could respond, the station's power grid fluctuated violently. Lights flared to blinding brightness, then dimmed to emergency levels. The main computer terminals reset, security protocols momentarily disabled. And through every speaker, every communication device on the station, came a sound none of them had expected. A haunting, melodic sequence that matched perfectly with the visual pattern they'd been tracking. It's broadcasting directly to us, Ayumi whispered, transfixed. The melody continued, complex yet strangely familiar, reminiscent of ancient earth music, but with mathematical precision that suggested artificial origin. Within seconds, the station systems began to synchronize with the rhythm, environmental controls, power distribution, even the heating and cooling cycles adjusting to match the pattern. It's interfacing with our technology, Marcus realized, alarm evident in his voice. This is a security breach. We need to isolate the communications array immediately. Wait, Ayumi countered. This could be first contact protocol. If something on Earth survived and evolved, it might be attempting to establish communication through technological resonance. Or it could be weaponized code designed to compromise our systems, Marcus argued. We can't take that risk. Another violent tremor shook the station, this one lasting several seconds. Multiple warning alerts sounded simultaneously. Critical failure, imminent in cooling Sector 4, the AI reported. Station integrity at 67% and declining. We're running out of time, Rico warned. Whatever this signal is, it's pushing our systems beyond capacity. We need to disconnect, or we'll lose the station entirely. The melody intensified, developing new harmonies and rhythmic complexities. Data streamed across Ayumi's terminal, faster than any human could process. Mathematical equations, geometric patterns, fragments of code. And then, emerging from the chaos, a single word appeared on her screen. Remember. It's a message, Ayumi breathed. A direct communication. The word pulsed on the screen, synchronizing with the musical pattern. New words began to form beneath it. Archive complete. Seed protocol initiated. Seed protocol? Marcus read over her shoulder. What does that mean? Before Ayumi could respond, every system on the station simultaneously overloaded. Consoles sparked, holographic displays distorted, and the lighting failed completely. In the sudden darkness, only emergency backup systems remained functional, bathing the hub in dim red light. Station critical failure, the AI announced, its voice distorted. All personnel evacuate to emergency survival pods. Repeat. Station critical failure imminent. We've lost control of all primary systems, Rico reported, voice tight with tension as she worked at the engineering console. The signal has completely overwhelmed our processing capacity. Can we shut down the receivers manually? Marcus asked, already moving toward the communication array access panel. Too late, Rico replied. The signal has propagated throughout our entire network. It's like it's rewriting our systems. Ayumi remained focused on her terminal, which somehow continued to function when others had failed. The message was expanding, new text scrolling across the screen. Earth archive transmission complete. Biological and cultural database preserved, awaiting confirmation of receipt. It's not an attack, Ayumi realized, wonder replacing fear in her voice. It's a transmission, a complete data archive of Earth, biological, cultural, historical, everything. That's impossible, Marcus objected. The data volume would be astronomical. Not with quantum encoding, Ayumi countered. My father's research. He was developing compression algorithms that could store vast amounts of information in quantum states, if he completed his work before the silent wave. Another violent shudder ran through the station. Support beams groaned under stress, and the distant sound of rupturing panels echoed through the corridors. Structural integrity at 42%, the AI warned. Catastrophic failure predicted in 17 minutes. We need to evacuate, Marcus insisted, moving to the emergency protocol station. The survival pods can sustain us until rescue arrives. We can't leave, Ayumi argued. Not now. The transmission is still ongoing. We're receiving the most comprehensive record of Earth ever compiled. If we abandon the station, all of it will be lost. If we stay, we will be lost, Marcus countered. The station can't handle the signal's power demands. Rico stepped between them, her expression grave. There might be a third option. She moved to the central control interface, entering a complex sequence of commands. We can redirect the incoming signal to the station's quantum storage array. It won't save Karen, but it could preserve the data. And us? Marcus asked. If we initiate the transfer, then evacuate to the survival pods within 5 minutes. We might make it, but someone needs to remain at the console to ensure the transfer completes correctly. A heavy silence fell over the hub, broken only by the creaking of stressed metal and the soft beeping of warning systems. I'll stay, Ayumi said quietly. Absolutely not, Marcus objected. We evacuate together or not at all. This is why I'm here, Major, Ayumi replied, her decision evident in her steady gaze. This is what Karen was built for, to be the witness, the observer. If Earth has found a way to preserve itself, to transmit its essence across space, then someone needs to receive that message. 14 minutes to catastrophic failure, the AI reminded them. Marcus studied her face, conflict evident in his expression. You're choosing possible death for certain data. I'm choosing humanity's legacy over my individual survival. Ayumi corrected. But you and Rico should go. Prepare the evacuation pods. I'll initiate the data transfer and join you if there's time. Another tremor, more violent than before, nearly knocked them from their feet. A support beam crashed down mere meters from where they stood. We don't have time to argue, Rico urged. Whatever we're doing, we need to decide now. Marcus held Ayumi's gaze for a long moment, then nodded sharply. Initiate the transfer. Rico and I will prepare the pods. You have 5 minutes. Dr. Le. Not 1 second more. Understood, Ayumi agreed. As Marcus and Rico rushed toward the evacuation bay, Ayumi turned to the console. The message continued to unfold across her screen, revealing glimpses of the data being transmitted: genetic codes, cultural artifacts, historical records, scientific knowledge, the entirety of Earth's legacy compressed into a quantum signal. With practiced efficiency, she redirected the communication pathways to the quantum storage array, an experimental system installed on Karen specifically for high-volume data preservation. Originally designed for astronomical observations, it now served a far more profound purpose. Transfer initiated, she confirmed, speaking into her communicator. Estimated completion time, 7 minutes. That's 2 minutes too long, Marcus replied, his voice crackling through the device. The pods are ready. You need to abort and evacuate now. Ayumi watched the progress indicator. 11% complete. I can't. Not when we're this close. Dr. Le, Ayumi. Marcus's voice softened. Please, this isn't what your father would want. The mention of her father sent a sharp pain through Ayumi's chest. For a moment, she pictured him at his laboratory on Earth, perhaps realizing what was coming, working frantically to preserve what could be saved. Actually, she replied quietly, this is exactly what he would have done. The transfer continued, 23%, 29%. The station groaned around her, sections collapsing in distant corridors. Temperature in the hub rose dramatically as cooling systems failed completely. Hull breach detected in sections 3 through 7, the AI announced. Atmospheric containment failing. Catastrophic station failure in 8 minutes. Ayumi focused on the screen, watching as humanity's legacy flowed through Karen's systems into the quantum array. 41%. 47%. Her communicator activated again. Ayumi, we've modified the third evacuation pod, Rico's voice explained. It's programmed to launch automatically in 4 minutes. That's your window. After that, the structural integrity of the evac bay will be compromised. Understood, Ayumi acknowledged. I'll be there if I can. The transfer reached 58% as another violent tremor shook the station. Consoles exploded around her, showering the hub with sparks and debris. Ayumi ducked beneath the main terminal, continuing to monitor the progress through her portable interface. 65%, 70%. A support beam crashed down, blocking the main exit from the hub. The temperature continued to rise, making each breath painful. Sweat poured down Ayumi's face as she watched the numbers climb. 78%, 83%. 3 minutes until automatic pod launch, Marcus reminded her. Ayumi, please. The transfer reached 91% when the station's power grid failed completely. Emergency generators activated, providing minimal power to critical systems. The data transfer slowed dramatically. 92%, 93%. 2 minutes to launch, Rico reported. Ayumi, the evac corridor is beginning to collapse. If you don't leave now, you won't make it. Ayumi, watch the painfully slow progress. 94%, 95%. At this rate, the transfer wouldn't complete before the station's destruction. Unless... Computer, she called out. Redirect all remaining power to the quantum array. Discontinue life support, artificial gravity, and structural integrity fields. Warning. Requested action will accelerate station collapse. Estimated time to complete structural failure, 90 seconds. Understood. Authorization Lee Alpha 479. Execute. Ayumi, what are you doing? Marcus demanded through the communicator. Ensuring the transfer completes, she replied calmly. Launch your pods. Get clear of the station. We're not leaving without you, he insisted. Yes, you are, she countered. That's an order. Major. The transfer accelerated. 96%. 97%. 98%. The station began to break apart around her. Without integrity fields, the structural framework could no longer withstand the stress. Panels tore loose. Equipment floated in the suddenly weightless environment, and the distant roar of escaping atmosphere echoed through the corridors. Pod 1 launching, Rico reported, her voice tight with emotion. Marcus is in Pod 2, waiting for you. Tell him to go, Ayumi instructed, watching as the transfer reached 99%. I'll be right behind you. A lie, but a necessary one. The evacuation corridor had already collapsed. She could see it through the hub's internal monitoring system. There would be no escape for her. Transfer complete, the computer announced as the indicator reached 100%. Quantum archive successfully stored. Ayumi allowed herself a moment of pure relief. Earth's legacy, its knowledge, its biodiversity, its culture, everything that made humanity what it was, had been preserved. Whether anyone would ever access it remained uncertain, but it existed. It endured. 1 minute to catastrophic failure, the AI reported dispassionately. Ayumi, Marcus's voice crackled through the communicator, desperation evident. The corridors collapsed. I can't reach you. I know, she replied softly. Launch your pod, Marcus. There's nothing more you can do here. I'm not leaving you behind. You have to. The data needs to reach the Council. They need to know what Earth sent us. A long pause, then. Was it worth it? Ayumi looked at her screen, where the final message from Earth still glowed. Seed protocol complete. Humanity preserved. Carry us among the stars. Yes, she answered truthfully. It was worth everything. The station shuddered violently, systems failing in cascading sequence. Through the observation window, Ayumi could see 2 small pods ejecting from Karen, their engines flaring as they accelerated away from the dying station. Computer, she called out. Transmit quantum archive to all registered human settlements. Authorization Lee Final Protocol. Transmission initiated. Warning. Complete transmission unlikely before station failure. Ayumi nodded, accepting this final limitation. The archive would be incomplete in most locations, but fragments would survive. Perhaps enough to understand, to remember, to rebuild. As the station began its final disintegration, Ayumi made her way to the observation dome, the place where she had spent countless hours watching Earth's silent form. Now, as atmosphere vented around her and structural beams collapsed, she gazed one last time at humanity's birthplace. In her final moments, as Karen broke apart around her, Ayumi imagined she could see a faint pulse of light emanating from Earth's surface. A farewell, perhaps, or simply the reflection of Saturn's rings. It didn't matter. What mattered was that something had survived. Something had remembered, and something had reached out across the void. The last observer had completed her task. 37 light minutes away. The evacuation pods containing Marcus and Rico stabilized their trajectory. Automatic systems orienting toward the nearest human outpost on Europa. Within their secure storage compartments, partial copies of Earth's final transmission waited to be discovered. And throughout the solar system, communication arrays began receiving fragments of the quantum archive, pieces of a puzzle that would take decades to reassemble. Biological blueprints, cultural masterpieces, historical records, scientific discoveries, the essence of Earth, scattered among the stars. In the ruins of Charon, now a field of debris orbiting Titan, a single, quantum storage unit continued to function, preserved by its self-contained power source. Within it, the complete archive, humanity's legacy, Earth's final gift, waited patiently for discovery. The melody that had accompanied the transmission, Earth's last voice, continued to propagate outward through space, a haunting reminder that even in silence, life finds a way to be heard. On distant worlds, humans looked toward the sky, unaware that their history was racing toward them, carried on waves of light and data, unaware that Earth, though silent, had not been defeated, unaware that the last observer had ensured humanity would remember its roots, even as it reached for the stars. The signal traveled onward, weakening with distance but never truly fading. A whisper in the cosmic background, a testament to existence, a refusal to be forgotten. Earth had fallen silent, but its voice echoed still. 5 years later, on the Europa Research Station, Marcus Vu stood before the assembled Interplanetary Council. His uniform, now bearing the insignia of Fleet Commander, was impeccable, but his expression remained grave. "The quantum archive reconstruction is 27% complete," he reported. Dr. Tanaka's team has successfully decoded significant portions of the biological database, including extinct species genetic templates and ecosystem models. The council members exchanged glances, their initial skepticism long since replaced by cautious optimism. When the first fragments of the transmission had arrived, most had dismissed them as corrupted data or equipment malfunction. Only Marcus's testimony and Rico's technical expertise had convinced them to investigate further. "And the origin?" asked Councillor Ishida, the representative from Mars Colony. "Are we certain it came from Earth?" "Beyond reasonable doubt," Marcus confirmed. "The quantum signature matches precisely with the theoretical models developed by Dr. Min Le before the silent wave. Furthermore, the biological data contains markers that could only have originated from Earth's biosphere." "What caused the silent wave?" another counselor pressed. "Does the archive explain what happened?" Marcus hesitated. "Not explicitly, but there are indications that it was self-induced, a desperate measure taken when an external threat was detected." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The idea that Earth had deliberately silenced itself was difficult to comprehend. "The prevailing theory," Marcus continued, "is that something was detected approaching our solar system, something that posed an existential threat to all biological life. Rather than face extinction, Earth's remaining scientific community appears to have initiated a planet-wide stasis protocol, preserving biological systems in a suspended quantum state, while simultaneously transmitting their templates to off-world colonies." "Are you suggesting Earth's population might still be alive? Just paused?" Counselor Chen asked incredulously. "We can't confirm that," Marcus admitted. "But neither can we rule it out. The quantum mechanics involved operate beyond our current understanding. What we do know is that someone, or something, on Earth remained conscious long enough to compile and transmit the most comprehensive record of terrestrial life ever created." He paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "In essence, Earth sacrificed its active existence to ensure humanity's legacy would continue, even if the worst occurred." The council chamber fell silent, each member contemplating the enormity of the revelation. After several moments, the council president leaned forward. "Your recommendation, Commander Vu?" Marcus straightened, his decision long since made. "We must establish a permanent observation and research station in Earth orbit. If there's even a possibility that our homeworld exists in some form of quantum stasis, we have an obligation to monitor and understand it. Furthermore, We should allocate resources to fully decoding the archive. The knowledge it contains could transform our understanding of biology, history, and quantum physics. And Dr. Tanaka's proposal? The president asked. I support it fully, Marcus replied without hesitation. The construction of a new Karen station, dedicated to the memory of Dr. Ayumi Lei and equipped with advanced quantum receivers, would serve both scientific and symbolic purposes. We need a proper observatory, a witness to whatever Earth might yet become. The Council voted unanimously to approve both proposals. As the session concluded, Marcus made his way to the observation deck where Rico waited, her attention fixed on the distant blue dot that had once been humanity's only home. They approved it, he informed her. Construction begins next month. Rico nodded, a sad smile touching her lips. She would have been pleased. She knew, Marcus said quietly. Somehow, Ayumi knew the transmission was more than just data. She called it humanity's legacy, but it might be something far more profound, a blueprint for resurrection. Together, they watched as Earth completed another silent rotation, its surface deceptively peaceful beneath swirling cloud patterns. No cities glowed on its night side. No electromagnetic transmissions emanated from its depths. Yet somehow, it seemed less abandoned than before, less dead, more dormant. Do you think we'll ever understand what really happened? Rico asked. Marcus considered the question carefully. I think understanding was never the point. Ayumi didn't stay behind to understand. She stayed to witness, to ensure someone was watching when Earth spoke its last words. Not last, Rico corrected gently. Just the most recent. There will be others. In the station's quantum laboratory, the reconstructed portions of Earth's transmission continue to unfold. Genetic sequences assembling into virtual organisms. Historical records forming cohesive narratives. Cultural artifacts taking digital shape. And throughout it all ran the haunting melody that had accompanied the original signal. Earth's voice, preserved across the void. The last observer was gone, but others had taken her place. Humanity remembered. Earth endured. And somewhere in the silence between worlds, a legacy continued its journey outward, carrying the essence of a planet that had refused to be forgotten. In the vastness of space, a single quantum pulse, too faint for instruments to detect, emanated from Earth's surface. A heartbeat, perhaps, or merely an echo of what had been. Either way, it traveled outward, racing toward the stars. A whisper in the cosmic darkness. We are still here. Remember us. Find us again. And across the solar system, humanity listened.